So what's going on, guys? Every once in a while we'll get a question, or I'll get a question, and I start typing it up or start thinking about it, and I think, you know what, I'm just going to do a video about that. And so we have a video coming out about some Alaska gear that we like and enjoy that we use for Alaska. But every once in a while we get a question, and I want to do this when I can. Just hop on here, be honest with you guys. Nothing fancy. This is grainy. It's late. I'm going to talk a little quieter than usual, probably because Hensley's actually asleep. But so I guess update on where we're at since I'm talking to you guys live. We have made it to Seattle with our van. We've kind of jerked and limped our way into Seattle, where we parked at 1,000 Trails. If you remember way back, we bought 1,000 Trails membership, and so we're trying to get some money out of that thing. And so we're staying somewhere for 4 nights right now, waiting for the mechanic. We just took the van in today. It took us like 5 days to get into somebody. Some of them it was like a week and a half or more, to just for people to, anyways, this is a total tangent on what I said this video was about. But this is what happens when I'm probably not going to edit. But yeah, so the vans, we took it to the shop today. Hopefully we'll find out something tomorrow on the van, on whether it's an easy fix, a somewhat difficult fix, or this is going to be a lot of money and a lot of time kind of fix. But it is what it is. It's a part of travel. It's part of the expense of us moving so often and towing something 9,000 pounds with our van. And I can answer questions about all that later. But anyways, that's where we're at. That's what we're doing. Things are good, but it's just we've learned that's just a part of travel, is doing this kind of thing. Way easier if you're in a house and you're doing this kind of stuff. When it's your home, we have no vehicle and we're sitting in the park right now. We have some friends that are helping us move back and forth, but everything's good. But the question I got, which would be sort of the title of what we're going to talk about. So Lori sent a message, and she said, I was wondering if you could do a short, simple video about editing and the equipment you use. I feel extremely lost on where to start. I mean, upload the video to the computer start. And so, man, it's overwhelming. I know this video and photo stuff. Photo is still overwhelming for me, but I remember when I started, I mean, I didn't start with any video background really, or any photography background, and I still don't have much of a photography background, but I have done quite a bit of video, so I'll focus on that. And I guess the answer to the question, for you, Lori, and for other people too, it kind of depends. So it depends on what your goal is. So Steven Spielberg and his crew, what kind of gear they're going to use, what kind of prep they're going to use, the people involved is going to be totally different than a vlogger, Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon. It's another level, and then you probably get, down to my level or whatever, where I'm a recreational vlogger, and so I've got, different gear, and then you get somebody who just wants to, which is how we started, just wants to video for fun, for themselves, to have the memories, and then share that with their family, with their friends. I think that's where a lot of people are at, but at the same time, they want to do the best they can. They want to grow, and they want to know where to start, how to go the next step. So I'm going to share what gear we use first, but then I'm going to probably just ignore most of that, because most of you, we've done this about 3 years, thousands and thousands of dollars into this, and it's what we're doing. It's our livelihood. So it's a totally different story. When we started out, this is not the gear we had, and this is not the gear we needed when we started out either. So I'll do that by starting with gear. I'll explain what video editing software we use, and then I'll explain probably what you need, which would be a totally different set if you're starting out. So a lot of you guys have seen this stuff. Let me go back to the big screen. So this is our main camera. It's a GH5. It's about $2,000 for this camera. It's a very good video camera, but it's not a great starter video camera, if that makes any sense, because it's not great in low light. The autofocus isn't that great, and you're probably thinking, Nathan, why are you using this? Because if you know how to hold the camera relatively still, if you know how to tap this to autofocus when you need to, if you know how to use the light correctly, if you know what kind of shots you're looking for, it does a great job. So love this camera. It's been really good for us. If this had been my first camera, I'd been frustrated and possibly just given up and say it's way overpriced. But it's been good for what we want to do, because it has a flip-out screen, because it can film in 4K at 60 frames, which means you can slow it down, because you can do ultra slow motion stuff at 180 frames a second if you want to. And then the lens I've got on here is an 8-18, which basically just means it's really wide, because when we're filming, we want to not just show ourselves, but as much around us as we can. That's just our choice as far as our video style. There's different styles, but that's the main lens we use on there. and then we've got, this is our other main lens. This is our combo. We go really wide most of the time, but then every once in a while you see that B-roll I shoot. See if I get it. You see that B-roll I shoot. This is a 35 to 100. And so what this does, this gets that really close. And if you ever see like Hensley's boots really close and really slow, and the water's splashing up slow or something with a blurred background, I mean, I'm probably using this lens and not this lens. And so that makes up probably 90% of our shots are with this gear right here. This is a big deal. If you're doing what we're trying to do, your microphone quality has to be great. So this is a shotgun mic. It picks up what's directly in front of it, versus if we didn't have this mic, the onboard camera microphone is pretty terrible, which is pretty normal for a lot of these cameras. And so all this gear is on our gear page if you're interested in that. That's the majority of our shots. I also have a monopod that I use. I think this is on there. If it's not, I need to put it on there. It's a Siri monopod. It's a P326S, and it has feet on it as well. So we can use it almost as a tripod pretty well, and if I need to, this screws off and it can be used as a monopod as well. And then our big camera can sit on it. Our big camera can sit on it. Sometimes what we'll also do, this is my other camera gear I carry around like crazy, our GoPro can clamp. This is tough to do. Our GoPro can clamp to this, and I can set it up and do time lapses and stuff like that. Now this piece of gear with the GoPro is something that's great to have, and it's not terribly expensive early on if you want to use it. And so this is the Hero 6. We started off with a used Hero 3, which honestly, if you want to start off cheap, the Hero 3, I'm pretty sure it still does 4K. I know it at least does 1080p really well, so you can definitely get a GoPro at a great price if you need to at this point. But yeah, so we use this mainly just for time lapses. I'll do and the cool thing is, I don't know how technical I want to get, but it's mainly for time lapses. And this attached to it is a clamp. So this can clamp to my pocket when I'm walking around. It can clamp to our monopod / tripod when it needs to, all that kind of stuff. It can clamp to posts. It can clamp to the side of our Airstream. The stuff we use, compared to people who probably do as much video as we do, who are as income dependent as we are, because I meet other people that vlog, and a lot of them use a lot more gear than this. So this is actually pretty minimal as far as the amount of gear for what we do. Which, I don't know, some of you guys, if you see a lot of video stuff, to me, I feel like I try to be pretty versatile and have a pretty good set of doing a lot with a little. This might seem like a lot to you guys, but then some of you guys, it might seem like that's all you use. That's really, like what I just showed you is like 95% of what we use. The other 5% is probably like if we do drone shots. This is my case. It's a DJI Mavic Pro, which is the standard right now until next week when something new comes out, which it has, the Mavic Pro 2. And so, yeah, I'll whip that out, fly that around. That's probably the other 5% of shots. But getting to the questions of what Lori's asking and what I know maybe kind of where I'm going with this instead, just wanting to know short, simple, I've already blown that out of the water, but short, simple editing equipment gear. So if I was starting off, let me just tell you what we started off with, I guess. And I think it's a great place to start off. We start off with this. Well, not this phone directly, but I had like an iPhone 6 Plus. It did okay. Had like a little bit of stabilization to it. Video was pretty decent. And it's crazy, just like comparing a 6 Plus to like an iPhone X or something like that today, how awesome your smartphones have gotten. So starting off, I mean, seriously, like, I mean, don't go around filming at night, which I can't film at night with this anyways. It's not great in low light. As long as you have decent light and you're not like filming into the light or something like that, use your smartphone, or if you're looking for an excuse to upgrade to a better smartphone with a better camera, upgrade to a better camera, film with that. And then this is the second piece of gear I would recommend to go with that. I would get go back down to this. I would get a gimbal. So any of these, they're all pretty similar. What you're going to get what you pay for. And so depending on what kind of case you've got, like this is a really big bulky case, but if you don't have a big bulky case or anything like that, almost any of these small ones will work. This isn't super big, but it keeps like my cards inside of it, so makes it heavier, I guess, when I say big bulky. So I'd be right on the edge of the weight of what these could handle with mine, because I've got a massive phone and a lot of weight. But if you don't have that much weight, you could do one of these gimbals for like $100–150. I would probably have to get one that's like in the $200 to $300 range, I bet, to handle my phone with all that weight on it. But anyways, for most of you guys, something like this Zion Smooth. I haven't bought these, so I'm not gonna like pretend that I've used all these or anything like that. But getting something like this, one of these, when you do your research, actually this DJI Osmo is pretty cool, because I think the Zion Smooth might be the same thing. So kind of look it up. It'd be nice if I like things that do more than one thing well. I think the Osmo might be able to hold the GoPro in there, and if possibly swap out and put a phone in there as well. But to me, the main thing I'd want it to hold, at least starting off, would be my iPhone, because this is what you can't do. You don't want to be walking around selfieing with your phone, and it's going to be, I don't care how good of a phone you got, if you're standing still, it can be okay. But let's be honest, you want to walk around. That's part of what makes it so cool. So you really, really, really want to be able to get one of these gimbals or be able to hold that phone. If you don't get a gimbal, don't walk around too much. It's going to be too bouncy. It's not going to look good. And so use your phone in that way with a gimbal is a great combo. What that also does, it gets the phone farther away from you so that you can get more of what's behind you, or if there's two of you in the shot, you can get two in the shot, because these have got a handle on them for that. And if you get, like, if you look at this DJI Smooth 4, it's got this little tripod at the bottom, so you get an extra way to hold your phone up in front of you with a stand, and then those legs are going to fold down so you can hold the phone even farther out from where you're at. So to me, the investment of $100–150 for one of these, if I'm doing, again, this is the level of, I want decent quality video for myself, I want it for my family, but I want to put it on YouTube and not be embarrassed about what I put out there if I want to do that. I think that'll really get you started. If I was going to go a step up from that, I think GoPro's a good step. I think it lets you, if you're doing some water shots, you can get a clamp, and you can clamp at your vehicle. You can kind of get some time-lapse stuff going on, and at that point you have two pieces of gear where you can be vlogging with your phone, and you can be doing a time-lapse at the same time, so you can kind of get, because that's usually what I'm doing, is I'm vlogging with our big camera, and then I'm time-lapsing with a GoPro. So I'm doing two things at once, because there's nothing more boring than standing next to a GoPro for 15 minutes while it's getting a time-lapse. So to me, that's the quick capture. If you want to go a step up from that, there's numerous ones of these. You got your point and shoots have gotten really good. So this is like your, I don't know, if you already have the phone and you bought this, even if you bought a new one, this is your $300–400 level plus the gimbal. This is like your $500 or less level, I guess. But let's say you're willing to put like $1,000 into it. If you're looking to put $1,000 into it, I would say like a G7X. These are pretty good. There's several different options with this. The G7X Mark II is good. Sony's got some point and shoots, but your point and shoots have come a long way. And they've got, I don't have mine with me because it's in the van, it's getting fixed, but we've got a G7X, not the Mark II. We hardly ever, it's like our backup camera, but it's got like a flip-up screen so you can see yourself while you're vlogging. I think if you're in like okay, I want to put $1,000 into this, which at the beginning, I don't know if I'd do that. I'd just use my phone and what I've got and maybe get a gimbal. You could go this route with a flip-up screen on the G7X. And then, yeah, that's the progression we used. We went phone and GoPro. I'm telling you, this is like exactly what we did. And then we went to a G7X. And then what happened was we needed, the G7X microphone was good, but it was still picking up too much noise around us. We wanted really good audio because we kept, getting more and more into this. And that's when we said, okay, we can't attach a microphone to our G7X, and most of your point and shoots can't. And so then we went to a Canon 70D, which is like this big one. With a microphone and all that. So that was our progression, what we did. I think it was a good progression. I think we went the pace we needed to go with that gear. But yeah, that's, as far as gear, that's probably where I'd start and what I'd do and the progression I would take. The thing about gear, and it applies, I'll show you our video editing stuff in a minute. I think if you don't know what you want to, if you don't know what you can't do, you shouldn't buy gear. You should only buy the gear that you need, or they say a lot of the times the best camera you have is the one that's on you and the one you know how to use. So if there's not certain shots or certain things that you just know how to do or know you want to do, and you know why, you shouldn't be saying, okay, I want that camera just because that's what this X certain blogger has, or I want this gear because so-and-so has that gear. If you don't know specifically why you want that gear, you don't need the gear. When we bought this, I knew I wanted 4K at 60 because I want to slow it down, still get 4K footage so I can crop and I can, pan, and I like the way 4K rendered down. I knew all the specs on that as far as what it did, slow motion, all the stuff I mentioned. I knew why I wanted that camera. I knew what the camera could do and what I could do with those features. So don't just try to go get a big fancy camera and say, well, I'll figure out what it can do later. I mean, you should already know things in your mind that you want to do and know how that gear is going to take you there, if that makes sense. Because it won't help you at all to get really nice gear if you're not motivated to use it. You're just going to buy something expensive and never get full use out of it anyways. So that's that's kind of my thoughts on basics on some gear. As far as editing, we started editing with let's see, we started with iMovie. I don't know why I'm tapping this in. I don't know why I did iMovie.com. I don't even know what that is. Anyways, we started with iMovie because we have a Mac and it works really well. And I would highly recommend, if you have a Mac, just start with iMovie. If you don't have a Mac, I've been asked what do you start with if you have a PC. I haven't started with a PC, so I can't say for sure, but I've heard that GoPro is editing. Their software is not bad. Quick is what it's called. They've got a desktop version you can download. So there's several others out there that are, again, I wouldn't go out and buy Adobe Premiere or buy Final Cut Pro first thing if I don't know what that software does that I can't already do. So start with something basic. So if we started with iMovie, and I got to the point where I said, man, I really wish I could do multiple text overs, or I wish I could do this kind of transition, or I wish I could organize my stuff. There was things I wanted to do that I could no longer do with iMovie, and I said, man, I wonder if something else can do that. And then I looked, and like Final Cut Pro could do that. And so at that point, I was like, well, okay. And so we paid $300 and we got Final Cut Pro. So that's kind of my thought. Use the software until there's something you want to do that it can't do, and then you move up to the next set of software. I think as far as, I'll show importing and all that here in a minute, but so this is what we use. This is, let me see if I can get this full screen here. It's going to look a little weird because I'm going to shrink down my normal window. Okay. So this is Final Cut Pro. I'm not going to go in depth. This is the video that's coming out Wednesday. Basically down here on the bottom is where we're editing, and this is pretty similar to what you're going to see on iMovie and a lot of the other ones too. So turn this down a little bit. So where we edit is on the bottom. You can see the clips, you can see the text is right here in the purple. Down below, the videos right here in the middle, the audio is at the bottom. That's the basics of how it works. And you just take a clip you want and you drag it down here and you drop it, and then you go through and you cut what you want and all that into what you need. So this is where you can see I've got it making cuts to the beat, because this is my B intro for this. I'll probably, if I'm not gonna go too in depth on this because that could be like a 30-minute video just on editing. But that's the gist of Final Cut Pro, is your editing's down. This is the way you can have it laid out multiple ways. That's how I lay it out, at least. So and so all the editing's on the bottom. Basically, these are all my libraries and events, is how Final Cut Pro organizes things at the top. You'll notice that's a Valdez video, the second Valdez video, the Alaska Gear video is going to be coming out soon. Those are all my videos that are coming up that are organized right there. These are the actual videos before I drag them down to work on them, so I can scan through and see those faster. Usually this is like 2 columns of videos, but I've got everything shrunk down. This is my main window to see a bigger picture of what the video looks like, and on the right it's where I can make edits like how loud, if I want to need the volume. Sometimes the volume's too quiet, I need it louder. Sometimes it's too loud, I want it quieter. I can make audio adjustments, I can make video adjustments, I can add text over the screen. I know that looks like a lot of buttons and a lot of stuff going on. That's the cool thing when you start with iMovie or the GoPro. It's not going to have quite as many options, as many buttons to be overwhelmed with it. But that's Final Cut Pro. That's what I use for editing. I've been happy with it. As far as like that versus Adobe Premiere is a whole other conversation, but for me, Final Cut Pro's been a good fit on it. Now Lori you said you wanted simple video. I know this probably hasn't been too simple, but as far as like importing, I'm trying to look specifically at some things you asked about. I know you mentioned uploading the video to the computer to start with, so getting a video from your device to the computer. So if you're using, I'll make this bigger. So if you're using, like, say, a DSLR or a big camera like this, you're pretty much, this is what I always do with my big cameras and my GoPro. You're going to take out your card. I always take out the card. You can connect a cord from the camera to the computer typically to do it as well. I take the card, I plug it into the slot on the computer. Once I plug it in the slot, and that's why this is tough to do this, because if you got a PC, these instructions, I mean, you're still going to take a card out and plug it in the PC, but it'll be different depending on what you use. But for me, once I've done that, I'm using Final Cut Pro, and so file, import, media, and then I'm going to pull that media in, off of that card through that. If you have iCloud, it's probably going to be a similar process. If you have anything really, you're probably going to look for some sort of way to import that video, or sometimes it'll pop up automatically when you put the card in, and it'll say, hey, here it is. So you're basically trying to get the media off of this card to your editing software directly if you can. That's the quickest way. If you can't do that, or if you're just wanting to get going, do something, at least try to get it off this card to your downloads folder or to your desktop, and then go in and you can take it from there and put it to your editing software. Obviously you want to skip that middle step if you can. But now if you're using a phone, a lot of your phones, especially an iPhone, is not going to even have a card. So what I would recommend with that is, even when I have my iPhone, right now I'm using a Pixel, but even with my iPhone, when it's using iPhotos or Photos, whatever it's called now, I like the way Google Photos works better. I'm not, I don't want to get into this or that, but for me, as far as collaboration with Marissa and the way it shares, different options they have as far as photo editing and stuff, I just think, to me, Google felt like Google Photos was a better fit, and they have free storage. I think it's unlimited, and it's a pretty high quality version of your photo. Now, if you're doing professional photo editing, you probably want to pay and get the entire, raw photo up. It's a whole other thing doing that. But for most people out there, the free storage you're going to get with Google Photos is just fine. So if you have Google Photos on your phone, and the settings, make sure, I can't remember the settings, but you want to make sure the settings, and it's doing what it's supposed to do, that it's automatically going to be uploading your videos, usually once you're on a Wi-Fi connection. It's going to take your stuff, automatically put it online for you in your Google Photos right here. And I wouldn't be surprised, I haven't done this, there might even be a way, either with Google Photos or some sort of third-party software, if you just want something simple. I think GoPro does a decent job of this too. You can just bring in a bunch of videos, click like an auto button or something, and it'll just take, it might be cheesy, it might fit, it might not, and it just sort of slams together a video for you, which to me is better than nothing a lot of times. But this is our video of when Hensley found out about her baby brother or baby sister. So you can get your videos. Oh, this is, I feel like we're at Walmart, and they're starting to put Halloween stuff out. At least in Seattle, they already are. Yeah, she's a unicorn. But so yeah, you get your videos automatically on here, which is cool because you can at least share your videos with other people if you want. But hit the check button, go over here, go to download. It'll download it to your downloads folder, whatever you have set, and then you can take it and put it into iMovie or GoPro, whatever you're editing with at that point. So unfortunately, everything kind of has some multiple steps. Honestly, and I don't have time to research it and find out, but I know it's out there. There are apps. If you have an iPhone or Android device, just do a search for video editing on my phone or video editing app. And super simple. Again, if you have your phone and you have a gimbal and it's halfway decent video and you just want something for yourself and your family, you might even be able to edit and do what you need to do with just your phone. It's pretty impressive how far things have come and how well a phone can create a video too. So you might even try with that, just to practice doing some of that stuff. Get an app, and then use that doing some things. And if you do that with your phone, you film with your phone, you get the app with your phone, the app will grab the photos and everything that's already on your phone. You edit it, you piece it together, they'll already have music suggested for you and all that. And at that point, you can share it, do whatever you want. Literally, like everything will be like on your phone. It'd be super easy. Probably not going to win like an Academy Award or anything doing that, but that's not the goal. I mean, the goal is to tell a story. The goal is to share memories. The goal is to, our frustration early on was that we had all these photos, all these videos, and we weren't using them. We weren't viewing them. We weren't sharing them. And I thought, man, have I really ever gone back and watched stuff I've created that often? So that's where we start. We're like, well, let's make it interesting. So at least, you know, whether it's a 2-minute clip or a 3-minute clip, it doesn't have to be a 15, 20-minute, where it took 10 hours to edit type thing. I was just creating these 2 or 3-minute montages of what we did that were interesting to watch, and I could quickly share them with friends and family, and they were fun to watch. Nothing super special, but they were fun to watch. So to me, that's the goal. The goal is just for you to get from point A to point B of what you want to do, what works for you. I hope, Lori, this hope this is kind of what you're looking for. I know it's 25 minutes. That's very simple, I'm sure, but it's fun. I like this stuff. So let me know what you guys think. If this is something you kind of enjoy. Every once in a while, I've done a couple of technical videos like this. Every once in a while, I'll get on here and I'll do a technical video and with some of this, and I may do some other ones down the road too, but felt like it'd be easier just to hop on here and do a 30-minute video instead of that all you guys can see, instead of probably just typing up one message or one email. For Lori, I know she would want that for you guys too, for everybody to be able to benefit from this. So I hope, Lori, this has helped some. If not, if you have other questions, let me know, and see what we can do. But that's all I've got. I don't have anybody to sign out with me or anything like that. Everybody's gone to bed. But I hope you guys have an awesome night, and catch you guys later.